Chris, when you do the attendance, make sure you include Fran in the attendance.
Yes.
You ready, Chris? You ready, Chris? Good morning, and I'd like to welcome everybody to the town of Ramapo for our town board meeting and police commission meeting. And at this time, I would like to ask our clerk, Christian Sampson, to call the roll.
Councilman, Deputy Supervisor Withers. Present. Councilman Ullman. Here. Councilman Friedman. Councilwoman Logan. Deputy Commissioner Hunter. Supervisor St. Lawrence.
Here. I'd like to ask Pat Withers to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And then after the pledge, I'd like to have a moment of silence for the Boston Marathon attack.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll just take a moment. Thank you. Michael, I think we'll start right off with the town attorney, Michael Klein.
Okay, we have three agreements for approval this morning. The first of these is continuing an existing agreement with the county for creating public places to work, live, and play. This is a grant that's being provided. We'll be receiving an additional $13,000 for the period of April through March.
Moved by? Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilman Ullman. And before we vote on this, I would like to also mention that yesterday we received for the Harry Reese Park another $28,000 from the Community Development Block Grant Program, so that's fantastic. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously. And Councilwoman Brendel Logan has joined us as well and was recorded on that vote. Michael?
The next resolution authorizes my office to use the services of Linda Passman, who's actually a retiree from the town attorney's office. This would be on a temporary basis to fill a gap until we create a new civil service position in that office, which probably will not be until the fall.
Moved by Councilwoman Logan, seconded by Councilman Ullman. Councilman Ullman on the question?
It's the same salary which was the opponent? It's less. Okay, and I've got the second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously.
We've received a request by Morton Silverberg to permit on a development drainage structures on the town's sanitary sewer easement. We've received a recommendation by the Department of Public Works that they have no objection to those facilities being placed on the town's easement under these particular circumstances.
Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilwoman Logan. All those in favor say, on the question, Councilman Ullman.
I noticed that it says that if the town has to make any repair, that they'll be responsible for it. In other words, if we have to damage anything, should we put something in the actual title? Because if you guys need to go sell the house after, the person buying is not going to be aware of that, and discuss the bill down the road.
We will make sure that the agreement which gets signed follows the land, and therefore there's an ongoing responsibility for somebody other than the town. We have one tax assured,
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously.
we have one tax assured matter. The board previously approved the settlement, but it did not include 1 year, which was part of that litigation. So this corrects that prior resolution and includes the years 2008, 2009.
Moved by? Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, second by Councilwoman Logan. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Carries unanimously.
The next matter we discussed previously, and this formalizes a settlement of a disciplinary matter under the terms that the board previously discussed. We could do this in executive session if there's any discussion, but if not, the agreement is by signature, which I'll do momentarily.
Okay, moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, second by Councilwoman Logan on the question. All right, since there's no more discussion on it, we won't have to go into executive session. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously.
The next item involves the commencement of a new litigation involving a police officer against the town. This should be discussed in executive session.
Okay, we'll save that hold that over for executive session. And before we go into 1E and F, Michael, we'll go right to number 2 on the police matters, and it's the authorization for our police chaplains to attend the ICPC Regional Training Seminar in Lakewood, New Jersey on April 21 and 23rd, and we have both of our chaplains here today, and very glad to see you. We'd ask you both to stand up and look to the camera, and turn right around so everybody at home can see you. It's Reverend Brightman and Rabbi Rossler. That will be on April 21st and 23rd. Moved by? Councilwoman Logan, seconded by Councilman Ullman. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. And we're very proud of the work that both of you are doing as Reverend Brightman for more than a decade, and now Mr. Rossler coming on to do this is fantastic, and it is so needed, not just within the department, but outside the department as well. And I know you've been meeting with the chief, and we wish you the very best on your training. I have a feeling that both of you going to a training will actually be training a lot of other people. I know, Reverend, you've been part of this organization for many years, and we're glad for all the work, and thank you for all the work that you do for us. We voted on that, Chris?
Yes.
Okay. Number 3 is the adoption of the revision of the town's purchasing policy. Moved by Councilwoman Logan, seconded by Councilman Withers. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. The next, now Michael will go back to 1B E on the agenda, and that's a discussion of the energy performance contract. Kendra, we have a microphone set up for you, so you're on. Mike Riley and Dave. And Dan.
Good morning,
Do you
everyone.
want to join them, Dan, in case there are any questions? Dan, you want to join them at the podium?
Well, I think they're going to have a presentation, but I'll be here.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Okay, Kendra?
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here this morning. Today, I'd just like to give you a high-level overview of ECG Engineering, what our services our company provides, and the preliminary opportunity that we have developed here, and talk to you about next steps in the program. ECG Engineering is a full-service engineering company, but we specialize in a program called Energy Performance Contracting, or EPC for short. If you're not familiar with this concept, it's become extremely popular over the last several years, and it allows municipalities and school districts to partner with what's called an energy services company, large companies like Johnson Controls, Honeywell, Siemens, and others, have those companies respond to a request for proposals, and in doing so, they provide detailed energy audits, essentially, of all town buildings and systems, and they're looking for any and all opportunities to save energy. They'll put together a package of recommended upgrades, and so what they're essentially doing is looking at the lighting in every single space, for example, looking at what wattage lighting is currently there, comparing it to the most efficient technology that's available on the market, and they're running calculations to see what is the return on investment if we were to replace this, what is the financial case for potentially upgrading this system, and they're doing that for all energy-consuming systems in all buildings. So they'll put together a proposal for your consideration, and the great thing about this, or one of the great things, is that the entire project must pay for itself out of guaranteed energy savings that those upgrades will yield. So if they move forward with a project and make all the improvements and you do not see the reduction in consumption as proposed, that ESCO is cutting you a check for the difference. Okay? So there's no risk financially in this type of a program. There's also no upfront or out-of-pocket costs in this type of program. The entire project is developed on the ESCO's dime, on the Energy Services Company's dime. We are here as a technical consultant for the entire program. All that we do is energy performance contract consulting and design for municipal entities, and we have done 70 of them throughout the state. So we're reviewing all the calculations. We are doing a lot of the due diligence that your own in-house staff would have a difficult time doing just from a sheer magnitude of the effort in reviewing all of the numbers and the scope items that are presented to you. So we're representing the town's technical and financial interests in the endeavor, and our fees are not paid until you sign a contract with an ESCO, which might be a year from now. And the way that the financial end works, so there's no out-of-pocket costs, is that you don't actually start paying for the improvements until a year after all of the upgrades are installed, and the savings are then measured, verified, and accrued, and you are absolutely sure about the exact amount of savings that was generated by the project before you make your first payment on the project. So all of the financing is delayed, and you're making the payments in arrears.
So, Kendra, this is you then look at this in a very comprehensive way, and you actually go out to the big companies that are working in all these fields.
Mm-hmm.
You ask them to do the research, you get to assess everything. You then go through that and to see which is the best that you would then recommend to the town.
Absolutely, yes.
And then at that point, we would vote on whatever those recommendations are. And it'd be for buildings and everything. And Mike, I think with some of the efforts that we've been doing with the Public Service Commission, taking over street lights, this would be comprehensive on looking at all of those systems as well, that you and Mr. Duffy have been working on?
Yes.
For people that don't know, in the last Public Service Commission rate case, and this is something that we've been trying in the last two cases, we were able to get a Service Class 6 into the New York State now. Service Class 6 now allows municipalities to purchase the lighting system, the street lights. And we are estimating a savings of over $250,000 per year by us being able to take this over. Previously, we were not allowed to own the street lights under the Public Service Commission law. That's changed. There's a lot that has to do with that, with the luminaires and the type of wattage we're going to use, the type of lights. We actually have a demonstration going on in our parking lot showing some LED lights, what the difference would be, so anybody that wants to look at that when they come to Town Hall. So you'll be looking that program over as well, right, Mike? And so you'd look at every bit of energy that the town's using, whether it's at the ballpark, whether it's at the St. Lawrence Center, the Bubble, this Town Hall, the police department.
Yes.
Out the street lights and everything.
Yes, everything will
Including
get evaluated.
HVAC systems?
Absolutely.
Air conditioning, heating, everything. The
Everything.
entire package.
Yeah, so it really is a nice, not only is it a comprehensive energy audit that you're getting from at least 3 competing energy services companies through the RFP, but it's also a package, it's a plan to actually get the work done and have it paid for out of savings. So it's really a great program. It's something that a lot of municipalities are jumping on. We're also going to obtain any rebates through NYSERDA or other entities that are available, and those will be sought out and applied for and obtained on the town's behalf through the process. So that's another additional benefit that can come through doing one of these projects.
Councilman Ullman.
Sure.
Okay, I'm the question guy usually. I have a lot of questions.
Okay.
What is this different than Orange and Rockland's program that goes around, they go to a lot of commercial buildings and they'll say, okay, put in a sensor, do something, and you only pay like 10% down, and they sort of get the rest of the money from NYSERDA?
The main difference with those types of programs is that it's very prescriptive and it's very specific to a system like lighting. You can't offset the savings of that program to fund other capital needs or other upgrades within the town. It's a straight funding mechanism. The other thing to be cautious is there's no guarantee on what they. Very often you have to be very careful about those programs because sometimes what they claim savings to be are not verified. Sometimes can be aggressive. I would agree with you. The one advantage of it is that they tend to fund them through your utility billing. Is usually how they fund a program like that. But they offer also offer rebate-type incentives that are similar that can be extracted through this type of program. So you can get some of that incentive, this mechanism, yeah.
So you have guaranteed savings in this?
Correct.
And if they don't deliver them, they still have to, those savings are still guaranteed?
That's correct.
Utility rates are kind of hard to guarantee. They fluctuate, but,
Well, you're right. Actually, the guarantee, just to be clear, is on consumption. It's on units of energy. Okay, because you're absolutely right. Prices are something that nobody can control.
even consumption up to a point, it's not, I mean, we put a new, all of a sudden now that there's, one of the workers coming early and starts turning off the bathroom lights an hour earlier, that consumption's gonna be less. It's not an actual measurable item, the consumption. But is this an energy provider? In other words, we're gonna switch companies of who provides electric, or this is just on energy savings of actual putting a higher definition, higher lighting or sensors or things like that?
It's efficiency from equipment upgrades and enhancements. It's not,
switching
right, we're
providers.
not touching your utilities or dictating any supplier. We wouldn't affect your
And
supplier.
do we have to vote on anything today, or, because we're
Well,
not paying anything, no?
There's a contract that we've been presented with, which is actually very, very simple. It's terminable at will, and it dictates what was just described, but really any payment to us would be after we've entered into an agreement with guaranteed savings, and the payments come out of the savings.
So what
there's no
are we
out-of-pocket
voting on
cost.
today?
It would be to retain ECG, based on that scope of work where they're gonna make recommendations as to energy efficiencies. And if in fact we go ahead and adopt those proposals, and then if there is an energy savings, then the town has to pay ECG out of those energy savings.
How much do we have to pay?
It depends on the amount of savings. It's a floating scale. Let's see. Maybe you want to describe that since you're more familiar with it than I am. Oh, let's see, 5%, $10 million or more, 7% of savings of under $10 million. So it's 7% of what the savings is that's realized.
Yeah, just to expand on the juncture that we're at, we've done a no-strings-attached preliminary look at what the town is currently spending and consuming to qualify this opportunity before we go too far. If there's no savings here, we don't want to even waste your time. And we've done that, and there is opportunity, and I believe you have the preliminary report we prepared. The next step, if you wish to proceed and go further, is to allow us to issue an RFP to the ESCOs. Those ESCOs will bring back detailed proposals with the site-specific scope of work and savings. There's no cost or obligation to allow that information to come to the table, and we will do that, and you can later decide not to move forward at no cost or obligation to us or anyone else.
Mr. Duffy, if I may ask, I have a lot of respect for you.
Mr. Duffy?
For the work that you've
Would
done.
you come to the mic so
Sorry.
people at home can hear too?
And not to diss to other people, just I know Mr. Duffy from before, and I mean, his word has always been his word, and stand-up guy. Have our energy, I mean, you've been following our energy very closely.
Yes.
Have our consumption rates been around the same for the last 2-3 years?
I believe so, yes. There's nothing
So there is sort of
significant.
a
I mean, your
measurable-
big new user is the stadium, the baseball stadium. That's a big
Yeah, but
new
everyone has a
user.
separate, I mean, we have separate bills.
Yeah, typically, most municipalities, including this town, you have a relatively stable usage, but based upon the preliminary assessment that ECG has done, there's clearly opportunities for great improvement. And this seems to be a program that gives you total control. So, for example, if they come back with 8 projects that they're recommending, you don't like 6 of them, you only implement 2. And I think that's tremendous control. And the guarantee, these are from companies like a Honeywell. These are serious, significant companies. So the financial guarantee actually means something, as opposed to, somebody guaranteeing it, 2 guys in a garage.
I mean, but if you're saying the consumption's been pretty much the same, then it's a measurable, that's what I'm looking at.
Oh, yes.
I want to also find that we're paying 5% of something that we would have saved anyhow because now we're not using a building or things,
Right.
Something like that.
Right.
But if you're saying it's pretty much, I know my house it's definitely not, but I guess here the facilities are open the same hours pretty much every day, so it's more of a measurable consumption, then I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. Deputy Supervisor Withers.
Kendra, I would just like to point out your client reference list that you have, I want to show the board that, some of the board members here, that some of the clients you have in the area of the Pearl River School District in the South Orangetown School District. It says the size of the project and the percentage of the energy savings. Is that a complete number, like 30%? You're averaging around 30 to 27% of the total cost back to the client?
Yes.
Okay. And how do you project the size of the project?
Well, the size of the project, as far as the actual project, has to be it's detailed and quantified based on the actual upgrades that are being done, and actual data logging that's done in the buildings. So when we verify hours of operations of lighting, we don't just assume on the building's assumed operating rate. It's actually logged and quantified.
So it's safe to say, looking through your client list here, is that the average is pretty much 30% plus back at no cost to the town, except for the major Honeywells and all that stuff. So-
That's right.
That's right.
And I'd like to add that on all of our projects that we've managed, the average is about 30%, but they're actually averaging about 14% additional savings above and beyond the guaranteed amount that comes back to the town or the entity to do with as you wish, and all of that is quantified. So the point of that is we've got over 20 projects that are in the savings phase, and they're all proving out to be successful, so we have that track record that we have a model that we can show you works, and it works better than expected.
Yeah, I appreciate you showing this, and it's, and again, it's at no cost to the town.
Absolutely correct. All costs must be paid for and covered out of energy savings that are guaranteed and paid for in arrears after they're quantified and saved.
Well, Kendra and Dave, I really appreciate the work, the preliminary work you've done with Mike Riley and with Dan Duffy to really get a handle on a comprehensive review of every piece of equipment in the town, and especially in light of the fact that we are going to be taking over the lighting system, where we had another negotiated session, Mike and I and Dan Duffy, just on Tuesday with Orange and Rockland, and we're getting very close. We're going to be before the Public Service Commission and doing that. So that would be another entity that would be added on, correct, Mike? That they would be able to review all the engineering costs as to what we will put in our streetlights and the savings that we'll be able to receive there. So
Great.
that $250,000 per year would be on top of all of the savings that Deputy Supervisor Withers is talking about the 30% cost. So
Yes.
thank you for all your work so far, and a motion, would you like to move this? I'm sorry. Yes, Councilwoman Logan.
On your fact sheet, the advantages, the last bullet, educate staff and students about energy conservation. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? How do you do that?
Sure, absolutely. In a lot of our projects, I would say all of our projects, and it just depends on to what extent you want to promote this. The energy services company that you ultimately partner with has a tremendous amount of programs that they would provide to you. They'll do as much staff training or events as you would like to talk about the project, to promote the project publicly. A lot of times if we have solar in a project, for schools more so, but they will educate the students about how that system is working and build that into the science curriculum. But there's a lot of creativity that can take place, and I encourage everyone to take advantage of that, because the ESCOs are looking to help promote the project and make everyone aware of its benefits.
Right, the reason why I asked that question is
Yeah.
because, based on what Councilman Withers was referring to, I see you have a lot of schools.
Right.
So I wanted to know what that difference was between the schools and then the actual municipalities. But I guess it's, you're educating based on,
Just, there's another component that takes place, and this might make more sense for you, is that ESCOs are happy to build a website that could tack onto your website that would illustrate the benefits and the upgrades that were done and the reductions.
Would it actually show the savings on a real-time basis?
Yes.
Or to a certain, it would? That
Yes.
would be very nice.
And that's a nice way to cap off the project and make sure everybody's aware of the good work that
And then
was
the
done.
schools could be part of that at that point, too. Great.
Sure.
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Moved by moved by Deputy Supervisor,
Councilman Friedman, 10 to 2 minutes so late, that's, please wait 2 minutes till you come. Up to the board to decide if they want.
I'm not waiting. Moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilwoman Logan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries unanimously. I mean, we've already had the entire presentation, and meeting started at 10. Okay. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Kendra. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Dan. And I know that Dan and Mike will be back talking about the takeover of the streetlights as time goes on here. Okay, Chief, I think we pass it over to you at this time. Oh, do we have someone here for high tour?
But we have, what we distributed to the board, it's only for discussion, we could delay it to another meeting. Annually, we have traditionally entered into an agreement with High Tour to provide animal services for us. They've requested that we do so again starting July. So we simply presented to you that new proposed contract, we can discuss it today, we can discuss it another.
Why don't we have that at the meeting, our next meeting? Okay? We'll push that over. Okay, Chief, you have the floor. Good morning.
First thing I'd like to start with is my report. Have a document passed out to you. Basically, statistics for the first quarter of this year. They're pretty well self-explanatory. I compared the first 3 months of this year with the first 3 months of 2012. And they're pretty consistent. If you want to go down the columns, recent reports have increased by, like about 200. The accidents went down by about 18. Our police involved accidents went from 4 to 1. The crimes are pretty much the same, other than after the report, the burglary went down 11. Our larcenies are down considerably. Not much change in assaults. Criminal missions are pretty much the same. The sex crimes went up a little bit. We had 1 homicide. As a matter of fact, we discussed that homicide this morning in the briefing with the district attorney. We had a briefing between 8 and 9 monthly, and I believe the defendants will plead some sort of diminished capacity.
This was for the yes, on Grandview Avenue.
It's up in that area.
Yeah.
Uniform tickets, as you see, are pretty much the same. Parking tickets went up. The arrests are down by about 80. So basically, that's it on those.
Chief, the one thing on the larceny,
Yes,
we went from 142 larcenies to 98.
yes, sir.
That's pretty
That's
substantial.
significant. Recently, we had a rash of car larcenies right over here in Lackawanna. So sometimes we get a rash of car larcenies. That will certainly influence that statistic.
Okay.
The other thing that I'd like to mention to you as well is since January, I've attended many meetings throughout the township. I went to the Salisbury meeting, village meeting. I went to the swearing in of the new mayor of Hillburn. Welcome, Mr. Walker. As a matter of fact, I think you were there.
Yes, and the Deputy Supervisor Withers was there too, as well.
We went down to swear in at Chestnut Ridge to the new mayor down there, and extended our congratulations, and we're certainly looking forward to working as close with him as we had with his predecessor. Went to many of the fire department meetings throughout the township, and without question, they were all very pleased with our performance. If there's any issues, I certainly compliment them on their performance, and if there's anything that we can make a little easier for them, and they're very appreciative of the police officers. They said they get a good report with our police officers. The young men and women that work out on the street are really where the rubber meets the road. So that's why I go to the meetings, so I can talk to their membership. And I'm very happy and proud to report to you that they're very, very happy with the response of the police department. So basically, that's what I have for my report. If there's any questions, I'm glad to entertain them. If not, we'll move forward.
Okay, any questions for anybody? And go right ahead, Chief.
Okay, good. The next thing is another interesting situation here. I call it the New York State Dedication Dropbox Program.
Go right ahead,
That's a
Chief.
program that's sponsored by the sheriff's department. Periodically, he puts a lockbox in the police department. Anybody that has some, I use the word antiquated, I'll say outdated medicine, whether it's controlled substance or not, they can drop it in a box and it serves
You move it.
two purposes. One, we dispose of them so there's no harm to the environment. Many, many years ago, they suggested we just dispose them down the toilet. It's completely changed now, so we take those old and unused medications, and they bring it to the police department. They bring any sort of controlled substance that has been prescribed, and bring it to the police department, and periodically the sheriff comes over and he destroys it. I got a request from Becca Coleman Muncie to see if I could provide some sort of a system for that. This box I'm referring to is special size with mailbox and it's secure. And it costs about $600. I applied for a grant and I'm told that there's a possibility, but about a 6 or 8 month delay. I applaud Becca Coleman for many reasons that we know of what they do for our community. But also I applaud them for the reason that they want to dispose of all these medical prescriptions in an environmentally safe way, and two, that they're very sensitive to any sort of controlled substance that they want to dispose of. So with all that said, I have not talked much about the policy, but I would think it would be a pretty good thing to do if we purchase that mailbox ourselves, if we could secure it someplace in the Pickle world, in their offices, and then periodically, perhaps we could go down there and take those medicines, make sure it gets to the sheriff's department, and then they can destroy it.
And Chief, as far as a policy, the Solid Waste Authority is working on, I think, refining that policy that we have where we take those medicines. So we can get some help there as well. I think it's a great initiative. It's a great thing. What I worry about is how do you prevent people from putting like old needles or things in the.
Well, this is what we'll have to look at and try to see. I haven't seen the box yet, but I understand that we secure it. Whether they could prevent them to put those type of things other than what we want in there, that's something I can't answer.
All right. You don't need any resolution or anything to make the purchase, and you can purchase it, and then if we get the grant, we can
Right.
expand the program too.
We might put it, exactly, put it in another location in town. I just think I applaud them for their concern about the environment and two, about outdated and medicine that could be dangerous to our other residents.
Okay.
If I could just say, ironically, I mean, it's not directly related to what you're saying regarding the controls. We destroy where I work. We destroy a lot of controlled medication through the Department of Health, and they send out warnings and I'll put in the garbage, in the toilets and things like that. But then when you go to destroy it, and our plan of offering is we pour in bleach and we do this and we do that, and they write back on, approved on the condition that after you finish, you flush it down the toilet. It's the same Department of Health that's saying that you can.
Yeah.
Exactly, that's what I mentioned, it's about $600. So the cost of that bill, I think it's a good organization, A, B, and I think that it should be commended for, like I said, that being environmentally sensitive, and also that they want to control things that are outdated and could be a danger to anybody.
I mean, some of the molecular structures, I mean, we deal with this at the sewer district, things that come through the sewer lines, and, you know, they're diluted, yes, but they're still concentrated in those molecular structures stay there, and you start to get a buildup in different parts of the ecosystem. Yes, Christian Sampson, our town clerk, who shortly, and April 30th of this month, will become the president of the New York State Town Clerks Association. So we're very proud of you. And I'd like to recognize him.
Just a thought, related thought. During the various disasters, natural disasters in Haiti, we collected lots of things, including hygiene items, clothing, etc. A number of people donated prescription medications. We kept them here, took them over to the drugstore, and asked them what we should do. And he says that they have a process for disposing of unused prescriptions.
Oh, good.
Took the
So
drugstore in the drug mart,
we can kind of piggyback on that as well. Yep.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, any other questions that I have?
Nope.
I'll ask Lieutenant Holmes to discuss very briefly social media.
Lieutenant, would you mind if you did it at the podium? I know you're all comfortable there and you have all your stuff laid out, but only because that way people at home can can get the benefit of the information. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Good morning. The chief has asked me to do research on social media use policies that other police departments have implemented. Some of the PDs that have it right now are Detroit, Little Rock, Arkansas, Brook Park, Ohio, and I've heard that NYPD has just come out with one. I have not been able to get a copy of their policy. What we're looking to do is develop our own policy and training. Its purpose is to give guidance for the conduct of the employees of the police department if and when they use any of these sites. Sites such as YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, MySpace, things like that. Now, we walk a very careful line here with limiting anybody's First Amendment protections, their free speech rights. But as public employees, the speech should be representative of the department values. What I found in our research is some of the examples of limitations that the other departments have put in place are things such as you can't indicate an affiliation with the agency prior to department approval. You can't post photos of persons in uniforms without approval. You can't post photos or videos of accidents, crime scenes, victims, or training. They prohibit the posting of confidential and sensitive information. We advise the officers to use appropriate level of professionalism. Now, regarding the training, one example is, and most police officers, I would say all police officers know of the Supreme Court case, Brady versus Maryland. Now, just a quick explanation of Brady is it's a 1963 Supreme Court decision where the prosecution withheld certain evidence from a defendant. It violated the defendant's 14th Amendment amendment for due process. So now Brady involves evidence. It has to be material. It can be statements of witnesses, it can be physical evidence, or it can be evidence that the defense could use to impeach the credibility of a witness. Now, case law has shown that Brady disclosures for virtual impeachment can be used. So that means if somebody posts, a police officer posts information on any of these social media sites, that information can be used to try to impeach that witness's credibility.
So Lieutenant, that means that if we have an officer that's testifying, anything that they've put out on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube could be utilized by the defense to go at their credibility and impeach that officer.
Yes, case law is there now.
And the case law now says that these social media networks can go for impeachment under Brady.
Yes. Now, it doesn't automatically impeach their credibility. That's decided, but, you know.
But everything is on the table, or everything is on the
Yes.
virtual table.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So, in closing,
You mentioned Detroit, New York City. Why are police departments all across the country not doing this? I'm glad we're doing it, or we're glad that we're addressing this, but are these new portions of Brady that have come down, new decisions under the Brady, or that have refined this, or is this becoming more prevalent in court?
It's fairly recent with the Brady information that I've been able to locate. I don't know exactly who or when it was first tried. So, but now, the city of Philadelphia has a social media policy use, the entire city. So, but I mean, it's what's happening now. You know, people's eyes are being opened up by this. And we're doing it to make sure that the department and the officers are not put in situations that can cause distrust or embarrassment. Now, I would like to we'll definitely be working with the town attorneys to make sure that whatever we decide upon or are looking into isn't violating anybody's rights. But we would like to, let's put it this way, we're looking into it, we want to come up with a policy. It's for protection for everybody, so that's what we're doing.
I just have a comment, maybe, maybe to broaden your scope, I wouldn't limit it to just police departments. I know there is school districts with teachers and stuff like that interacting, especially with the kids and stuff like that. Maybe we could reach out to the local school districts as well, just to see what they're doing as well and how they're addressing some of the concerns between people's civil rights and stuff like that.
Pat, maybe we'll be done with the school district, we should do town-wide. For the police department and town-wide, and then go to the school districts.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Yeah, Luke? Yeah.
So what you're saying is the officers can go onto the sites and, what you want to train them in is what is permissible to put on it, or to say on it, or to post on it, and what's not. Because that could come back to cause them to lose their jobs. Is that kind of what we're saying?
Or to lose the case, or
Or
to be...
lose the case.
Well,
There'll be
lose-
ramifications from that action.
Right.
I don't want them there in my uniform, and there are certain other issues that they should be very sensitive to what they display for the world to.
And that wouldn't mean whether they were in their uniform or not, Chief. I mean, this is anything that they could post because it's there forever, and...
The act of preventive with my uniform.
Mhm.
Give them some guidance on other things.
Correct.
What about the police department having social media to get the message out during, if there's accidents, avoid this area during emergencies, and
We do have.
We reverse 911.
We have a New York alert that we initiate when those times, that goes out to us townwide, and we can limit it, correct? You know more about it?
I do.
Okay, so
Through the county OES, we're hooked up with New York Alert, which is a New York State sanctioned site that sends out emergency broadcasts on text messaging, email, and or phone. Reverse 911.
is that expensive? Is that, or is,
Absolutely no cost to
Okay.
the town.
Good.
I'm sure the taxpayers are paying for it somehow.
Pay for the infrastructure of the system itself, and then it's a matter of hitting the stroke key and having the technology and the training.
Reverse 911 if we have a true emergency, a lockdown, something like that. We can get the information out quickly.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Holmes.
Thank you.
Chief?
Next one is the training. I'd like to send Captain Wydell to their training. It's sponsored by the NA, National Academy of the Eye. It's going to be 2 or 3 days. And I'll talk about some active shooting scenarios, the Virginia Tech shooting, the English shooting in Pennsylvania, Columbine. I can provide you with the cost, probably a little less than $1,000. It's going to be from August 11th to the 14th. We'll be up in Portland, New York, and really appreciate your consideration of this. I think it's going to be excellent.
Well, why don't we have a motion, Chief, that kind of leaves a little open-ended, so you can send the personnel that you want to send there in case you decide that there's somebody else that you may want to send. So moved by Deputy Supervisor Withers, second by Councilwoman Logan, to allow the chief to send the personnel he deems necessary to the conference and the training in Cortland,
Along with Captain Polk.
along with Captain Coakley. Oh, and Captain Wydell, yep. Any other questions on that before we vote? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. Go ahead, Chief.
Thank you very much. Number 5 is the police chaplain. I'm very happy to see him here. Mr. Supervisor, we're very anxious to get him on board. We have an old friend, as you mentioned, Reverend Burton. We have a new friend here, Anthony Rusler. They're going to join that association. I don't know anything about the association. However, what impresses me is that training seminar that will be scheduled 2 weeks before in April. The head speaker is going to be Lieutenant Colonel David Grossman. He's in fact the same man who's going to be up here on May 21st. see a lot of young faces, new faces. Last time the Reverend was here, we didn't have a lot of those men and women, so he has introduced himself. The Cantor will be doing the same thing. We have supplied some ID cards for him, so that will give them the credentials. The Cantor may be going over there after this meeting, get his ID card. We're anxious to get him on board. I think, as you mentioned earlier, not only will they be good internally, they certainly will be an asset for us externally. So, your vision and the town board's vision, I appreciate them coming on board. So I'm thankful for that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chief. And that event, when they're going on to Lakewood on the 23rd and through the 21st through the 23rd, it's the following month, I think it is the 21st, where we will have the event at Lafayette Theater, which will be a very massive event with...
Exactly, and that will be up there in Lafayette. See it, everybody in the county will attend, so it's going to be a very powerful presentation. This fellow that's going to be the guest lecturer is known throughout the country. They tell me he's 300 days a year he's on the road. So I think that they'll be very informative and very educational. Very happy to see that.
So since the Cantor and the Reverend will be down there earlier on, maybe they can be part of that event and open up the event with some words.
Okay, there's two other things. One, I'd like to ask even Lieutenant Anna to give us a little briefing on, let's talk about the recruits and the status of the recruits.
Do you mind using the mic? I don't. Okay.
You didn't know it.
I didn't, kind of caught me off guard.
No, you're good, though.
As the board is well aware, there's 5 recruits that we were waiting to get their psychologicals and medical exams complete. All the psychologicals have now been completed. Just yesterday, they completed their medical. It doesn't appear, I've spoken to a couple of the recruits, it doesn't appear that there's any problems. As far as I'm told by the recruits I spoke to, they all passed the medical, they all passed the psychological. So we're right now waiting on the paperwork, the bureaucracy, go through the paperwork to the county and get back to us. Once that's done, our good friend Linda Conner will let us know that the paperwork came back from the county, and then we can proceed with getting them on board officially.
And of the 5 new recruits, none of them need to go to the academy, correct?
No, they're
They're
all
all trained?
currently working as police officers, either part-time or full-time.
And none of them are working in New York City? That,
No.
where
No.
we would have to have the new reimbursement
No.
to New York City? I
As
just
a matter
wanted
of
that.
fact, 4 out of the 5 paid their own way through the academy. They were sponsored by the Sheriff's Department and paid their own way. The other officer, Officer Mitchell, he works in Orange County. He went through the academy up there, which we accept, and he's been there quite a number of years, not more than the 3 years that law applies.
Fantastic. So, Detective Lieutenant, what do you foresee as the time period, depending, if Director of Personnel Linda Conner can get it through the county and the
Well, if
paperwork?
everything goes according to plan, the chief and I just spoke, and our goal is to hopefully the first May meeting.
I think you have a board meeting.
Great.
So we got our fingers crossed for that, but how things work, you know better than I do. But that's what our hopes are. All 5 of them are very excited.
So we've nominated them, and
Yes.
so May 8th, we make them the permanent, make them an appointment.
Provisional appointment.
And that provisional is for 6 months, or is it a year, 2 years with a police officer?
Yep.
104 weeks.
Okay.
So that's it. That's
Fantastic.
what we
And
stand.
I think we have 5 great candidates, correct?
Yes, as a matter of fact.
You impressed?
As a matter of fact, one of the candidates is due to have a baby on May 8th.
Fantastic.
His wife, anyway, so it could be a special day for him if it works out.
Oh.
They're all great guys. I know them all from teaching 4 of them at the academy, and the 5th guy I met, he's a terrific guy. I think they're all very good candidates, yes.
Thank you. Any questions for anybody on the board? Okay, thank you.
I'd like to go to executive session, Mrs. Wood, but before I do that, I must commend you personally, and Deputy Supervisor Wood, other members of the board. We were on the phone hours after that tragedy in Boston. Your concern was, will there be anything that will happen in your town? I appreciate that. You made sure that we had the manpower to provide as much safety and security to this town. Many people won't realize that. Within 2 hours, we talked on the phone, I talked to Mr. Wittes, and we had your support on everything we could do to make sure that this town is safe. So I want to thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, Chief. And on behalf of the entire board and the commission, I want to say that we do have a safe town. We have a dedicated police department that does an incredible job. And we talk about this, Chief, many times when we go to events in the town where we have large gatherings, because we have events in the town where we have 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people gathering at all sorts of different types of events. And you are always of the concern of the safety at those events, always have been, even prior to this instance. And you have been actively pursuing funding from Homeland Security to harden and to protect us even more. And I know we've been able to utilize, and with the sheriff and with other departments, utilize their bomb dogs and sent them over to other events. You know, for instance, you know, we have, starting today, going through Sunday, I think we have 10 baseball games where the Rockland County High School baseball championships will be at Provident Bank Park. We're going to have thousands and thousands of people coming through there on a regular basis, and I know you will be have a keen eye, both undercover and regular officers, to make us safe. We can never stop kind of those homegrown, whatever type of terrorism it is in those events, but we can certainly harden our targets and make it so that it's less likely and keep our intel out there. And we do have intel out there, and we spoke about this even with our intel at we have Detective Moreau at the Anti-Terrorist Task Force, has been ever since 9/11. And we pay for that, this town, and we see the need to have that intel, and it's important, and especially in the world we live in today.
I received a call from him within an hour of that track.
Okay.
Thank you very much. If time permits,
Before we go into executive session, because we never know how long that will last, and we do have one piece of business that, a new business, and then if anybody in the public will let them speak now so they won't have to wait for the executive session. Go ahead. Deputy Supervisor Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor, members of the board, members of the commission. I received a letter along with the supervisor and members of the board from the Ramapo PAL. Dear Ramapo Town Board and members of the commission, we are submitting this request from the Ramapo Police Athletic League for the funding for fundraising assistance. The PAL has been diligently in fundraising to help renovate the PAL Activity Center. We have gathered a group of volunteers that would help us construct and offset the labor cost. We unfortunately lack the necessary funds and needs to purchase the building materials required to complete the renovations. We are respectfully requesting the financial support in the sum of $10,000. The funds will allow us to complete most of the renovations and required and will allow us to start the programs right away. As you're aware, the undertaking of the creating of the PAL was to provide a positive outlet for our youth that reside in the town and are faced with loss of extracurricular activities from their budget shortfalls. Thank you again for your time and consideration. I so move it.
Okay, moved by,
There actually is not a date. Sorry.
it's signed by William Delaney, who's on the executive board. Does anybody in the police know when,
Dennis Proctor gave it to me yesterday. So.
okay.
Make this 4/17.
So Brendel is dating it
Yes,
4/17.
okay. Second?
Moved and seconded. All those on the question? Yeah.
Thank you. I just want to commend the police officers of the Police Athletic League for taking the initiative and stepping in. It shows that our police officers are doing more than just securing our streets, but they're improving the quality of life in our community. And, you know, there are a lot of issues with the school district and with other issues about extracurricular activities and opportunities for young people, especially outside of school. And the Police Athletic League has really stepped up, and so has this town board. And I'm proud to be a part of it. I'm proud to vote for this allocation of funding, which is really going to help a lot of kids who need the extra program to fill in gaps in their day and in their schedule and in their lives. And it really adds a lot, and it helps them in the classroom as well, ultimately. So I think this is a really phenomenal project, and I'm proud to support it. And I applaud the supervisor and Deputy Supervisor Withers and all the members of the police department and our PAL. And I really look forward to seeing this project completed and enriching the lives of a lot of children in East Ramapo.
Thank you. Before we vote, I would like to recognize Councilwoman Logan. Did you want to say something?
Oh, okay.
No, if you didn't, I was going to say something.
I was gonna talk about the charity basketball game.
I was going to say that, I was just going to say that as the coach of the team, sorry I let everyone down. We lost 72 to 67 to the teachers. I am still awaiting that I've requested. I haven't put in a formal protest, but I'm still awaiting the teaching certificates of some of those members on their basketball team that were dunking, reverse dunking, and but we did well. We hung in there. We lost 72 to 67, and unfortunately, Tom Carroll on the midnight shift was hurt during the game, and. The chief and I ran into. I just missed you, Chief, when I visited him at the hospital. But I did run into Deputy Supervisor Withers as I was leaving. He was coming in, and he was in some pain. He had just finished the operation, and you always try to wonder how somebody is feeling. He was falling asleep on me a little bit, from the, and I can understand. Other people do that even without operations and medication. But I knew he was feeling better when I said, is there anything that I can do or anything we can do to help you? And he said, can I get a grilled cheese sandwich and some French fries? And so I knew he was coming around, and the department was able to do that for him. So, Councilwoman Logan.
I'm so happy about the PAL program. Just to piggyback on the sentiment of Councilman Friedman, what's important is that we have a DARE program that focuses on our 5th and 6th graders, and that's such an excellent program for those grades. But 7, 8, 9, and 10, we need to continue that, and so I think the PAL picks up where that DARE program stops, and it gives a reinforcement of what we want our kids to do every day, give them a place to go, give them some mentors, and get them off the streets and get them into a positive environment. So 100% we look forward to this PAL program. We know that there will be a lot of cuts coming across the country in a lot of the school districts because there just is not enough money in programs. So we hope to be the saving grace for our young people.
Well said. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Did you want to say something?
Yeah, do it after the vote, that's fine.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Okay, passes unanimously. Councilman
Every
Ulmer.
every board member here is praising the PAL. My silence is not in disagreement, it's in agreement. Just wanted to clarify that.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Chief, that's any other new business that we had. So at this time, anybody in the public that would like to address us, please raise their hand. Come right up. State your name and address for the clerk. And
Robert Romanowski, 183 Maple Avenue, Muncie. 3 issues there. I still believe the town rescinded a no parking zone on Park Lane between Maple Avenue and Sunrise Drive. I think they may have done this in error. I still believe the no parking signs are needed on the west side there. In the mornings, I say between 7 a.m. and 9:30 a.m., and in the evening between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. It's very congested there. There are cars parked along the roads, very narrow to get by. 2 cars cannot pass. Cars are parked around the corner now going up the hill on Sunrise Drive. The town also has a no parking area south of Sunrise Drive on that street, and I noticed that all those signs have been vandalized. Someone sprayed green spray paint over all of them, and cars are parking there now. So I'd like the town to look into that situation. Also, I've noticed there's a heavy litter problem on Herrick Avenue between Maple Avenue and Stevens Place on the west side, where all those properties are. It's full of garbage along that area. And the last thing I'd like to ask today, since this is a police commission meeting, maybe someone in the police could answer this. I'd just like to know why. I received a solicitation in the mail, like most people do, from the Rockland County PBA for a donation. One thing I've noticed, though, is that the Ramapo Police Department is not a member of the Rockland County PBA. I would just like to know why. Thank you.
Okay. And then next person, come right up. The Ramapo PBA is a standalone PBA association, so they have their own PBA and their own executive board, and that's that. Yes.
Scott Goldman, Cottage Lane, Suffolk, New York. Couple things.
What number, Cottage
Six.
Lane? 6.
Couple things real quick. I'd like to commend the police on what I've heard today, on looking into using public information and being careful of the officers not divulging the wrong things or being able to hurt themselves or hurt the cases. I'd like to commend the work with the PAL because it's a wonderful, wonderful organization. I think it's well needed in our school district and with our children. And I'd also like to commend the town and the police for finally taking care of the thing as quickly as they could for the parking on Cottage Lane. And I'm also very happy that they elected to take the longer side of the road to ensure that everybody in the neighborhood can park if need be, and I wanted to thank them for that. Then I have one other question. In my wanderings around town, and I remember when the town had purchased this piece of property, it's 250 Grandview Avenue. It's on a corner of Grandview and Spook Rock. If I remember correctly, it was purchased as open space. And within the last few days, I noted posted signs go up, but not town posted signs, like the regular yellow ones that you buy like at Walmart or something. I was just wondering why there's posted signs on that piece of property. I don't know if you even know that they're there.
You mean for no hunting or
No, it just says
no trespassing?
No posted, no trespassing.
Yeah, we put up signs there for posting no trespassing. And some of that property is privately owned, but it's a environmental area that we've had some dumping there, and we're trying to get a handle on that, so we're trying to keep people out. And, you know, it's pretty swampy in there
Yes, it
as
is.
well.
No, it was just that I seen them recently, and it just was odd that it wasn't looked like a town sign. It looked like signs that were purchased from Walmart. And point of interest on posted signs, that they have to have a name on the bottom of them to be valid. So
Yeah.
if they're your signs, please put, Town of Ramapo on them so that they're valid signs. And again, I'd like to thank you and commend the board once again.
Thank you. That is an area where we also put up signs, Marsupial Crossing. Do you remember that, Captain Wydell? The signs didn't last long, but that is an area where we get a lot of possums at night coming through there. I saw the other night, if people don't realize this, if you run over a female possum, you may be killing an entire family because she has her babies knitted in on her back when she goes out at night to, get food, and she may be carrying 10, 12 babies there. So I always see possums on that area, so we put up the marsupial signs. There were some people in the town, I remember Mayor Frankel didn't like the depiction that the DPW and the Highway Department came up of the marsupial. He thought it looked more like a rat. But that sign went down, and I'm sure, we had 2 signs there, and I'm sure they're probably in some college dorm room or something. But be careful of the marsupials there. Possums are the only marsupial in North America. Reverend Brightman, come right up.
First of all, let me thank the supervisor, the chief, and the police department for having me aboard. I've been around for some years now, and somehow or another, it seemed like I'm getting some recognition. Thank God for that. I appreciate that. Most of my work was voluntary. Now it has been extended, and I'm happy about it. One thing I want to ask you, Mr. Supervisor, I have a uniform. On my uniform, I have the rank of captain. Now, you gave me that rank, so I don't want nobody thinking that I just put that on myself. I didn't go and make that up. You gave that to me, am I right?
Yes, you're right.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure, because I don't want nobody, when you see me walking with my uniform on, and I feel proud of that uniform, is that I made myself
And you look
captain.
great in it, too. You do. And as a matter of fact, you wore the uniform of the United States Air Force for many years in
Yes,
service to this country, and you look very good in it, and we'll have to get Yehuda Rossler a uniform as well that he can use when he feels it's appropriate.
I just want to make sure that I don't want nobody to think that I made
Did
myself.
Captain Wydell or Captain Coakley make any comments about it?
I got nervous.
You saw another person there that could be taking your job, Chief. Well, with that being said, before we go into the executive session, there was something that was brought up to my attention, and that was the number of tinted windows in private cars in the town. And it's not legal, I don't think, to have these dark and tinted windows. And I always worry about police officers when they're coming up on a traffic stop, which are always dangerous because you never know what you're going to encounter, and to have those darkened windows, it takes a few more seconds away from the police officer to see what's going on in that car, if there's any rustling or people leaning over into the back seat to get either a weapon or to secrete some other contraband. So, Chief, I don't know if we could review with our attorney's office what the exact rules are on that, and see that there's a proliferation of this going on, and we even have businesses that are tinting windows, and there are certain levels of education maybe to those businesses and also cars on the street.
I will do that, Mr. Supervisor. We do have a device that will determine the density of that shading, and if it's in violation, we do have to do it.
Okay. Would you, when you do your research along with the attorney's office, will you pass that along to the board, to the commission? Okay. And the last thing is, tonight at 8 o'clock, we're going to have a Youth Academy graduation. And that will be on live from Ramapo Town Hall. And that will also now be simulcast live from 8 to 10 on WRCR radio. So, Chief, you've got to put your radio face on today. You'll look sharp. So tonight's graduation, this will be our first graduation that will be simulcast both on radio and TV, on Cablevision and on Verizon and on our own internet, and also on WRCR 1300, the official radio station of the town, and on their internet as well. So it will start at 8 o'clock, and we have a great group. And is Lieutenant Colbert, is he still, he'll be here? And will Sergeant Howe eventually be taking over for that? Fantastic. Okay, so we'll reconvene. A motion to close the public participation by Deputy Supervisor Withers, seconded by Councilwoman Logan. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. A motion to go into executive session by Councilwoman Logan, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Withers. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, carries unanimously. I want to thank everybody at this point for your attendance, and everyone at home, and we're going into executive session. Thank you very much. You got the vote for come out of executive session? Okay. We have one piece of new business, and that is to provide a surplus vehicle to the Yeshiva Spring Valley, one of our surplus old police vehicles, so that they can use it for security at their site, as we do for other municipalities and other organizations. Moved by Councilman Ullman, seconded by Deputy Supervisor Withers. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries unanimously. Motion to adjourn
Logan?
by Commissioner Friedman, and seconded by Commissioner Logan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carries unanimously. We're adjourned.